dispensing information about Heritage Poultry. But what I like about what Lisa does is she gives sound information, but she has a lot of experience working with birds in a very natural way. And so I've actually used some of her ideas and suggestions. And in fact, yesterday we did a little taping where we used some diatomaceous earth. I don't want to steal your thunder. You can talk about it. Apple cider vinegar, ground garlic. And so she's going to talk about just some of these things that we have around our homes and what they can do for your flock, for the health of the bird, and also flavor of the egg and so forth.
Wait, his chickens thought we were poisoning them. We gave them the apple cider vinegar water, and they were like, oh, okay.
What happened to this?
They were looking and looking, and they didn't want, they had no idea.
I think they were hoping it was Jack Daniels.
I think so. It's not smelling like it.
So when Lisa finishes, when you all are finished, she'll answer questions, and then what we're going to do is, so that we don't delay lunch, because I know everybody's going to get hungry, and if you're like me, when you get hungry, you get cranky. I want everybody to walk down to Poultryville so you can see it. You're welcome to go back later, but we're going to have a brief introduction down there so we can get back in time and have lunch and so forth. So, all right, let's give Lisa a very warm welcome.
Well, as Ellen said, I write the blog and the Facebook page, Fresh Eggs Daily, and last year I wrote a book kind of summarizing everything that I do. According to the schedule, I'm supposed to be talking about choosing and handling chickens and supplies, but that's kind of boring. So instead, I'm going to just kind of talk about what I do and why I do it and why it works. People ask how long I've been raising chickens, and that's kind of a loaded question. I've had them on our farm in Virginia for about 7 years, but I grew up across the street from my grandparents' chicken farm. They were honest-to-goodness chicken farmers. They sold the meat and the eggs during World War II to support their family, and then on up through probably the late 60s. And I grew up across the street from their farm, so we always had a flock of chickens as a kid. And as you mentioned, my only memories were having to go out and collect the eggs with my brother, and those chickens were so darn mean. We used to wear oven mitts, literally, to collect the eggs because the chickens would peck at us and the rooster would chase us, and I was not a fan of these chickens, and I'm sure we ate them. We always ate the eggs, and as a kid, I'm sure we ate the chickens, but I seem to have blocked that. I don't remember having a problem with it. But now we don't eat our chickens. We just raise them for the eggs. And they all have names and all that. So I've really been around chickens all my life. But when I started raising them as an adult, I started reading books, and all the books they all kind of said the same thing. You know, you wait till a chicken gets sick, and then you give it antibiotics, and if that doesn't work, you cull it. And I read another book, and kind of the same thing, and I'm thinking, we're raising these chickens to eat their eggs, and so we know where our food comes from, and that it's healthier, and it's not really healthier if they're getting antibiotics, which are really, really overused. So I started doing some research. I've used herbs forever, and I've grown them and cooked with them like I'm sure most of you do, and my mom was really into healthy eating, so we were always, had a garden, and I started researching about using herbs with livestock, and there were books written back in the 1950s that were already referring to these things as old-timers methods. This was nothing that was just invented. People have been using herbs for their livestock since the beginning of time, probably since, old-time Egyptians or whatever noticed their chickens walking around eating the herbs that were outside. So there hasn't been a lot of studies done because nobody's going to put the money into it, especially in using them specifically with chickens. But it just, it makes logical sense that these herbs have wonderful health benefits. They've been used with livestock, and slowly the studies are being done. They recently studied oregano as a natural antibiotic, and some of the large poultry farms are using that instead of antibiotics. So I started reading, and I started putting things to my Pinterest boards, and saving things and bookmarking them and doing more research, and I realized that you really can do a lot as far as preventives go when you start raising chickens if you incorporate herbs into every different aspect. So one of the things that I really recommend is getting your chickens as chicks. When you buy at a swap or you buy older hens, you don't know how they've been raised. You don't know if you're buying someone else's problem. You could be buying a rooster when someone says it's a hen. You could be buying an 8-year-old chicken that they say has just started laying. So When you start with your baby chicks, you know, and you've got this day old, whatever, and you've got control over what they're eating and what you're doing. So when I start them out in the brooder, I take little clumps of dirt and grass and I put them right in the brooder with them, because what you're doing is you're introducing to their immune system the kinds of things that they're going to get outside. You know, you don't want to raise them in this boy in the bubble kind of sterile environment. So many people clean their brooder every day and they scrub it out, and you don't want to do that. You want to let them be exposed to small amounts of these things. I don't feed medicated feed. The medicated feed that they sell for chicks is recommended for like the first 8 weeks to help them build an immune system that can fight coccidiosis, which is the #1 killer of baby chicks. But by bringing a little bit of the outdoors in, you're exposing them to that, especially if you already have chickens. It's out there in your chicken run. I mean, almost guaranteed. So the chicks, you know, they pick at the grass. The dirt also doubles as grit for them, which they need to digest if they're eating anything other than the feed. And they have a ball. I mean, it keeps them from getting bored, you know. So I do that, and I also feed them chopped herbs. Parsley is an awesome overall, packed with vitamins. Sage is being studied to combat salmonella. So, you know, any culinary herb, I stick with the culinary herbs because they're safe. The study of herbalism is kind of a, you know, it's not regulated like the medical field. So there is no such thing as a certified herbalist, or, you know, you can get these certifications, but there's no yardstick. So anyone, technically, if you work with herbs or use herbs, technically you're an herbalist. So really, probably every one of you in this room, you could say you're an herbalist. So I stick with the culinary herbs because they're safe. It's almost like, you know, telling your kids to eat more vegetables. You know, how many? Well, more. You know, more is going to be better. So, you know, there's no specific amount, or, you know, people will say, well, how much basil do you give them a day? I don't know, whatever I've got excess of, you know, I just toss it in there. I believe if you provide chicks or chickens, they will eat what they need. Chickweed, which some of you might be familiar with, is a weed that grows kind of in the cooler, damper areas. And I pick it, you know, for the chickens, and I give it to them. Well, our duck, we have one drake, Gregory, and roosters or drakes will generally stand back when you have treats for your chickens, and they'll point them out to the girls, but they'll, you know, stand back and let the girls eat them. Well, Gregory had hurt his foot somehow, and he was limping. And I threw in a bunch of chickweed into the pen for them. Would you not, he literally pushed the other ducks out of the way to get to that chickweed. And I said, you know, he knows that that's a natural pain reliever. I believe that he knew that he needed that, and he said, you know what, I need to eat this today. I mean, maybe I'm overthinking this, but if you watch them, I think they really know. And so you know, pick what you got in your garden and throw it out to them, and they're going to eat and they're going to be healthier for it. I've not had, you know, any problem with respiratory illnesses or any kind of infectious diseases or whatever. You know, there's lots of naysayers who say, you know, sage is not going to cure salmonella. It's probably not going to cure it, but it's going to give your chickens the tools that their body can fight it off if they come in contact with it. So I'm just a huge proponent of adding it in every aspect. I do feed them dried herbs all summer. I dry herbs in the summer. Just pick whatever excess I've got, I dry them and I crush them and keep them in a big canister. And I add probably 2 cups to a bag of feed, stir them in, and in the winter, it adds great nutrients for their chicken feed. In the coop also, I do add the diatomaceous earth, like Alan said, on the floor of the coop. It's a crushed fossil that helps, it kills hard-shelled insects. So mites, lice, it'll kill ants.
What's the name of that again?
Diatomaceous earth.
Can you spell it?
It's diatomaceous, diatomaceous. Food grade, you're looking for food grade, and it is a natural product. It's crushed fossil. A lot of people are against it because it can cause respiratory problems in humans or animals. I mean, it's almost like taking a bag of flour, and if you just throw that flour all over the place, yeah, that's not good for your respiratory system. It's a very fine powder. So, you know, you want to be careful with it. Some people wear masks when they use it, but, you know, if you apply it carefully, it's not, you know, and I have to say the average chicken is going to live, what, 6 or 8 years, maybe a dozen years if you're lucky. It's not going to be diatomaceous earth in their lungs. It's going to kill them. So, and I've not ever seen a mite, a lice. Yep.
I think you mentioned putting it on the floor. What kind of surface are you doing?
Oh, I have a plywood floor to my coop with linoleum over it. but you can use it over dirt, concrete. I just, when I clean out my coop, I sprinkle that, put down new straw. Some of the herbs that I like to use in the coop, either fresh or dried, mint. Mint helps to repel rodents. It won't keep every mouse out of your coop if they want to come live there in the winter. But the mouse might think twice. So I use a lot of mint, on the floor of the coop and in the nesting boxes. In the nesting boxes, I also like to use rose petals. They're a natural antiseptic and they look pretty. I also use lavender and chamomile in the nesting boxes because they're both really calming. So your hen needs to feel, safe when she's laying her egg, or if she's sitting on eggs especially. I have curtains over my nesting boxes, which I think Alan actually laughs at me for. I change them out with the seasons. Well, I had done that, again, Pinterest, you see these things on Pinterest. And I was like, oh, that is so cute, I need to do that. And then Backyard Poultry magazine, I think a couple months later, a few years ago, came out with an article about how farmers used to hang burlap bags or feed bags over the fronts of their nesting boxes because the darker and more private a chicken's nesting box is, the more safe they're going to feel to lay their egg. I mean, that egg, whether it's fertilized or not, that's their offspring. Every egg they lay is like the next generation. So if they don't feel safe or comfortable, that's where you're going to find eggs, under bushes and wherever. So the curtains, I really do believe, I have tiebacks in the summer because, you don't want them shut because they'll get hot in there. And sometimes if I have a broody hen, she'll actually undo the tiebacks. So the curtains close. I mean, in the winter though, the curtains, I do change to burlap with lace in the winter, and they do, shut, and they also help to keep the eggs from freezing in the winter because they keep the heat in the boxes. So the curtains actually do have a function, but they are really, really pretty. I know you guys, you're probably going, there's no way I'm putting curtains on my nesting boxes. But I've seen a lot of guys have done, they've done like a navy blue kind of, you could do the burlap, something manly. He's like, there's no way I'm putting but in the nesting boxes, that you want to have a calm environment. I also make a lavender mint coop refresh spray. I just steep lavender and mint in white vinegar. You can also use vodka, which is fun. You just let it steep for a couple weeks. You shake it up and put it in a squirt bottle. And in the winter, you can spray it in the coop, and it's an insecticide and also very calming. I mean, my coop smells awesome. When I clean, I don't use bleach because bleach and ammonia, as you know, causes toxic fumes, and there's ammonia in chicken coops. So I use white vinegar for cleaning. And I make an orange peel cleaner. I steep orange peels and cinnamon sticks and vanilla beans in mason jars. Again, a couple weeks, you shake them up every couple of days. And it's also a great kitchen cleaner. The orange peel is a solvent, and the vanilla beans and cinnamon sticks are natural insecticides. And I'm telling you, this cleaner smells awesome. I mean, I use it in my kitchen, I use it in my bathroom, I use it in the coop. And it's safe, it's natural. So there's so many ways that you can use the herbs to just incorporate them into, your daily chicken keeping. And growing an herb garden is not expensive. It doesn't take a lot of time. On my website and in my book, I do have a list of, all the herbs and the specific benefits of each. Things like marigolds and alfalfa will make your egg yolks really, really orange if they eat lots of those. So that's kind of fun, especially if you're selling your eggs. They're going to be really nice orange anyway if your chickens are eating a good diet, but the alfalfa and the marigolds, can really make them vibrant. So, if your customers are thinking, why should they buy your eggs? They're going to look awesome. Yeah.
If I buy alfalfa from my horses, do I just grab a handful of it, throw it in the coop? Okay.
Yep. Same. Yeah, you can grow it. I sprout a lot of things, especially in the winter, mung beans or quinoa or pretty much anything that'll sprout. You can sprout broccoli or any of that, and they really love the sprouted. Or you can make fodder, kind of sprout it in a tray or a pan, and when it gets, microgreens. So there's so many easy ways to just incorporate these things. And like I said, I start from chicks because they get accustomed to the taste. I'll have people say, well, I threw my hens some herbs and they wouldn't eat them. It's a new food and they're suspicious. like Alan's chickens with the apple cider vinegar water, they literally thought we were trying to poison them. I mean, I wish we had the looks on their faces. They were just like, there's no way I'm drinking out of that cup, So, but you keep offering, and then they start to to warm up to it. I don't know how many of you are like brand new with chickens, but you mentioned you were, but so just basically like natural kind of chicken keeping basics, the diatomaceous earth we talked about. I also put that in the dust bath area. Chickens don't take baths. They kind of go around in dirt or dry, fine soil to keep themselves free of mice and lice and other external parasites. It smothers them. You can add the diatomaceous earth to that, which will be also helpful to kill those kind of insects. You can also add wood ash, from your fireplace or fire pit, not charcoal briquette ash or anything treated, but just clean wood ash. One study I read, I don't remember, from the 1970s maybe, after forest fires, wild animals will go around in the woods and eat the charcoal of the charred trees because it contains vitamin K, which is a blood clotter, and it's also a detox. Charcoal pills for people is a natural detox. Same thing, the wild animals know that eating that charcoal can help detox their bodies. So adding some bits of charcoal or charred wood ash to the dust bath is also very beneficial. And the chickens are amazing. They just kind of know these things, and if you provide them the tools, they'll use them to be more healthy. So, yeah.
Could you talk about some of the additional things that you incorporate in their daily feed,
Yes.
like you did with Alan yesterday?
Good point, okay. Yes, okay, so the daily feed. I use crumble, you can use pellet or crumble layer feed, it doesn't matter. Anything that's going to be nutritionally balanced, and that certainly can be their main diet. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to have, perfectly fine chickens are going to lay you, okay eggs. But I do add a couple of things, because like I said, the more you can do preventive, you're not going to be faced with things. I don't have a medical degree. I mean, I know nothing about, chicken medicine. Our vet, I'm lucky to have a vet who does raise chickens. He sees our dogs, but he has his own chickens. So I do have a good resource, but a lot of you might not. And it's very expensive. So you really want to head off these things. So one of the things I do add to the feed is the diatomaceous earth. It's edible. It kills bugs, so it helps your feed store longer. If bugs get into your feed, it'll kill them. It's also high in silica. Excuse me?
You just mix the diatomaceous earth in the
Yep.
feed?
About a cup and a half for a 40 or 50 pound bag of feed. I usually dump the bag of feed into a big Tupperware bin, mix it up, and then I divvy it out into metal pails, to feed them. But the diatomaceous earth is really high in nutrients, and